It's time for Lefties losing it, and he's back. The puppet president Joe Biden has made his first public remarks since he left office in January, and of course he launched into an incoherent attack against President Donald Trump. It was a mess, folks, a train wreck, just like his presidency. It started badly and it got worse. Let's look at Biden here, ignoring the blaring music and just launching into his speech.
Thank you. So good to be here. We deserve.
Oh, they had to abruptly cut the music because he wasn't stopping, folks. He was going to keep talking even though no one could hear him. Bless. Perhaps they should have kept the music going.
Well, that's what you're all about. That's what the legislation's about. It's about dignity. Simple dignity. Everyone deserves to be treated with dignity, regardless of their standing, regardless of the economic situation, regardless of who they are. Making sure that more than 60 million Americans who are living with disabilities are treated with dignity is who we are as Americans. That's what it's about. I mean it.
It was classic Joe Biden, gibberish, barely coherent sentences, bursts of anger and shouting, and whatever this is.
Pulled into the parking lot, and I had never seen hardly any black people in Scranton at the time I was only going in the 4th grade. And I remember seeing the kids going by at the time called colored kids on a bus going by.
Okay, Joe, Biden's cognitive decline is nothing new. It was evident even before he became president. Remember this?
Got hairy legs that turn blonde in the sun, and the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down so it was straight, and then watch the hair come back up again. They'd look at it. So I learned about roaches. I learned about kids jumping on my lap, and I've loved kids jumping on my lap.
He learned about roaches. He learned about kids jumping on his lap, and he loves kids jumping on his lap. That was before he was president. Never forget how the leftist media covered up that man's obvious mental decline. Now, talking about mental decline, let's check in with Bernie Sanders, who was at Coachella. Yes, the millionaire socialist with 3 houses thought a music festival was the perfect place for this anti-Trump sermon.
We need you to stand up to fight for justice. He thinks that climate change is a hoax. He is dangerously wrong. And you and I are going to have to stand up to the fossil fuel industry and tell them to stop destroying this planet.
Yes, I'm sure the drugged-up yuppies at Coachella really appreciated that rant, and everything at that music festival is actually dependent on fossil fuels, including the jets the rich and famous take to perform or attend the festival. There was plenty more lefties losing it at Coachella. Here is Kneecap. Kneecap, Google tells me it's a Irish hip-hop group, as if that's a thing. They had the drugged-up yuppies in California singing this delightful tune about Margaret Thatcher.
If anybody was wondering, Margaret Thatcher is still dead. Maggie's in a box, Maggie's in a box. Na 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 na. Maggie's in a box, Maggie's in a box.
Yes, the greatest female leader we have seen died at the age of 87 12 years ago, and these sad losers are still chanting about it. And rounding up the Coachella lunacy are middle-aged mascara-wearing pop rockers Green Day, who have taken a break from their pro-Palestinian activism to again rail against MAGA.
Well, maybe I'm America. I'm not a part of a MAGA agenda.
Now, it seemed like only last week we were laughing at Democrat Cory Booker's stunt of talking for 24 hours straight. We wondered whether he was wearing an adult nappy. Those questions were never answered. And bless him, Cory Booker is back now, and he's not only providing lols, but hugs.
What are we going to do about protecting LGBTQ rights and trans rights for those who don't have a voice that can speak up? This is not a costume. This is who I am, and I am not about to let him tell me who I am.
Thank you for coming. So first of all, can I have a hug? Yes.
We've already spoken about the insufferable, self-delighted, rich and famous ladies who went into space for a few minutes, but they keep talking about it, so I've got to cover it. Here is Katy Perry.
I hope they can see the unity that we modeled and replicate that and understand that we weren't just taking up space, we were making space for the future. And for me, like Gail said, this wasn't a ride, it wasn't a destination, it was a journey, and it was a supernatural one.
And here is Oprah's bestie, Gayle King, talking about the backlash to all the hyperbole we've heard from these ladies.
This is what bothers me, because I've certainly read some of the things online, coming from people that I know, that I like, that I consider friends. Space is not an either or, it's a both and because you do something in space doesn't mean you're taking anything away from Earth. And what you're doing in space is trying to make things better here on Earth.
And Gayle King claims that these overprivileged women were victims of sexism. How else can you explain this stunt being called frivolous?
What do you think when people say, oh, it's frivolous? Number one, they call it a ride, which I find very irritating because they never say men went for a ride. What do you say to people who think that this was frivolous or just a ride? You know, I think the message that it sends is very, very powerful.
Lauren Sanchez, whose fiance Jeff owns the rocket, well, she was reduced to tears by the experience.
And 6 women just did the same flight that he did.
Oh, I just want to keep hugging you.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
And I hope that more people get to see this because I feel I don't even know how much it's going to change me.
And if you thought that was bad, watch this performance from Katy Perry.
Katy!
Joining me now is Newsweek's Senior Editor-at-Large and Article 3 Project Senior Counsel, Josh Hammer. Josh, just how insufferable and self-delighted can these ladies be? We had less carry-on when real astronauts stranded in space for months were rescued recently by SpaceX. These overprivileged ladies spent a total of 11 minutes floating around in their designer spacesuits, and now they think it's going to bring about world peace.
Yeah, Rita, you know, it kind of reminds me a little bit of the old John Lennon song, Imagine, otherwise known as the worst song ever written. I mean, John Lennon had this song back in the 1970s after the breakup of the Beatles, that it's going to be a world with no borders, no religion, just kumbaya, world peace there, you know, and apparently Katy Perry here and the ladies circumnavigating the globe in the year 2025 are trying to do their best John Lennon Imagine impression there. But I mean, what a bunch of just overindulgent, pure exhibitionism. I mean, that really is the word that comes to mind here. I mean, this is obviously a stunt. It is transparently a stunt. These people are not going into space for any other reason other than to kind of raise their fist and say rah rah feminism, world peace. I mean, the message, frankly, like I don't even fully understand exactly what the purpose of this stunt was. I mean, it's kind of like a United Nations like hold hands together kumbaya thing. It's also partially like a feminism thing. But frankly, I mean, when people do this in the name of feminism, they actually set real feminism and real genuine equality to sexes backwards there. Because I mean, if this is what people think of when they think of feminism, someone who gets dolled up and they put on the designer suits and the makeup. I mean, Katy Perry clearly spending more time actually getting her makeup ready than actually going up into the atmosphere, right? I mean, people see this and they're like, okay, if this is feminism, I'm gonna oppose it. So they're undermining the very cause they purport to champion there. Ultimately, all sorts of these stunts. This is the reason, Rita, why I think the left is just not in a good place in the United States, because it is all pure symbolism. It is all virtue signaling. That's the entire edifice. That's the entire purpose, soup to nuts of all that they believe these days.